Let's get it.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everyone doing today? Hopefully, you are having a wonderful, wonderful Saturday morning. I am Tech Coach Ralph. We are engineered to win. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. This is the Men Lie, Women Lie, Numbers Manipulate show. And this is where we review our weekly economic numbers, the data that's coming in to see how things are going. Are we being bamboozled or misled? Which you know we are. Or are things on the up and up? So we're going to get into it today. We have the consumer price index. We have the producer price index. We have the University of Michigan consumer sentiment report as well, where it measures people's feelings. So we're going to get into it today. Let me know if you can hear me. You know what? Let me do a sound check real quick. Give me just one second. I just want to make sure I sound all right. I heard that this morning I was on a call and they said that my mic was a little bit off. So I just want to make sure it sounds okay. Hear me? You know what? Let me do a sound check real quick. Give me just one second. I just want to make sure I sound all right. It sounds just fine to me. So we are good. We are getting after it. Let's get to it. So so I do have a quick update. If you haven't done so already, do me a big favor. Like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content. And I do in the Patreon today, I am going to be doing a little meetup where and it's for anyone who is a Patreon subscriber, whether you're a free tier or you're on another type of tier, whatever it is. I'm going to be helping one of my tech barbarians to figure out how to deploy an application on Microsoft Azure. It's going to be my first time actually using Microsoft Azure, but I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. And I'm going to, I'm not going to be doing the work myself. I'm going to be helping him to walk through it so we can get that situated. It was a project that I gave my tech barbarian that he is working on because you know what, we're engineered to win. We are going to figure it out. We are going to win. There is absolutely nothing, yes, nothing that is going to stop us. So that's going to be at 3 p.m. today. I'm also going to record it so I can put it up so that people can get some ideas of the things that we do. But that is going to be in the Patreon. All right. So, so anybody can join. That call is going to be on Google Meet. You can join and you can, ask questions and stuff like that. We'll figure it out. But that is the plan. A little quick meetup today so that we can take a look at Microsoft Azure and figure out how this thing works. All right. So that's techcoachralph.dev. Go over there and sign up for free. And you can join us in a Google Meetup so that we can work towards, so I can help my tech barbarian work towards setting up, deploy to a Microsoft Azure web apps for one of the applications that that me and the other tech barbarians had built. Right. So yeah, techcoachralph.dev. Join now so you can tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. Okay. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to be doing. Let me see. Yep, that's about it. So with that being said, let's jump into our weekly economic numbers for this week, right? So let's see. It's been a busy morning. So let's get to it. Let me go over here. All right. So this week we have our numbers to watch. We have our we have Bureau of Labor Statistics with the Consumer Price Index for August. We have the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the Producer Price Index for August, and then we also have our weekly Department of Labor with the initial jobless claims, which tracks people being laid off for the first time and who are filing for unemployment benefits, gives us a small gauge of how the job market is going. And we also have then we have the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report. All right, so that's the plan for today. And then I think we should have enough time, but I'd like to get into this new realtor law and look into that to see what's going on with that. And we'll see what we can get to. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get to it. Nothing like we're good. So let me open up this link real quick. All right, so let me see. Can I? All right, that's good enough. All right, let me just go like. All right, so the numbers to watch from this week. This was from Monday, and it says the following Friday's pivotal jobs report that showed the U.S. added less than forecast 142,000 jobs in August. Investors are narrowing in on the Federal Reserve's plan to cut interest rates later in the month and how deep a reduction they'll make. In the meantime, investors will be watching Wednesday's consumer price index numbers for a sign that inflation is continuing to cool and on its way to the Fed's 2% target. All right, so we already went through what we're going to be looking at. So yeah, that's about it. A big thing to watch is the CPI numbers, which we are going to be covering today. And we got some friends in the building. We got some friends in the building. Let me see. Good morning, Alexis. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. As well as happy birthday weekend to you. And Mitch says, are you selling houses now? Not quite. Nope, no houses for me. And we got the one, the only Yakar in the building. Says the Tech Pookies have arrived. The Tech Pookies are in the building. Good morning to you, Yakar. It is currently 6:45 a.m. over there on the West Coast for Yakar, but he's up and he's at it. That's what I'm talking about. And Mitch says that he is not my friend. That hurts. That really hurts. But as Will Smith said in that episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when he had to choose which friend would go on the game show, he said, the wind in my eyes will dry my tears. I know you guys remember that. I know you guys remember that quote. I know you remember that. All right. So let's get to it. So let's check out Bloomberg real quick. We will set up our Bloomberg filter where it's going to give us a link to our data. Bloomberg, you got to do better. You got to do a little bit better, Bloomberg. All right, there we go. Let's do that. All right, so we are going to apply our filters. And we're going to say we only care. That's so mean. We only care about the United States. Terrible. Next week, I might do Venezuela to see how Venezuela is doing. So let's do economic activity. Let's do employment. Let's do confidence index. Let's see what we get with this, right? Let me do inflation as well. Let's do the top three. I guess I have to do, to get the Michigan one, I'm going to have to do the middle one. They don't rate Michigan, the University of Michigan, as too important, apparently. But we have, so we have the core CPI. We have the year over year. I think this is the one that we're going to be looking at. And then we have the initial jobless claims. We have the producer price index. And then that's three. And then we'll get the University of Michigan at the end. All right. So let's get to it. Mitch says, I am not saying happy birthday again. I tell you what, so mean. You are so mean. Terrible.
Ain't believing us.
Well, I'll say it for Mitch. Happy birthday to you, Alexis from Mitch. And we're also going to say it again tomorrow as well. We're going to say it tomorrow as well. All right. All right, let's get started. So it says that the forecast was 0.2, but it was actually 0.3. So if we look back to the LinkedIn article, right, it said that this CPI is going to be a key sign to see if inflation is cooling, right, on its way to the Fed's 2%. However, according to Bloomberg, it was 0.3%. So let me pull up our Urban Dictionary of Economic Data. Still using the Google Doc because we are going to be migrating into as we get our what do you call it? As we get our thing set up, our app set up so that we can use that. We're still using this for now, So consumer price index. What is the consumer price index, right? So consumer price index is like a price report card for everyday things you buy, like groceries, gas, clothes, and even rent. Imagine you're making a shopping list of all the stuff. Let me close this out right quick. Let me zoom in as well. This might be a little small. All right, there we go. So, all right, so imagine you're making a shopping list of all the stuff you need. The CPI keeps track of how much that list costs over time. So here's how it works. Shopping basket. Think of it as a big basket filled with all the stuff people usually buy. Price check. The government checks the price of these items regularly. Compare prices. They compare today's prices with the price from the past to see if things are getting more expensive or cheaper. So, for example, let's say we compare when your car used to get his fancy golden eggs for $4 for a dozen, right? And now he is paying $16.94 for that same pack of eggs. It breaks his heart. I totally get it. So now, but however, they're telling us now though, the prices are going down. Which is a good thing, right? So they're saying that now the eggs they might cost, like, instead of $16.94, they say, guess what? Let's celebrate good times. The eggs are going down to now, your car doesn't have to pay $16.94. He's actually paying $13.87. So it's no longer it's not $4 that he used to pay like 4 years ago, right? It's not $4, but it is not the $16.94 that he was paying 2 months ago. Now it's $13.87. All right. So it's better. It's better. It's better. So that's what this report is telling us. Is going to be tracking the price over time. But they're telling you, hey, guess what? The economy is doing great. All right. So let's take a look at this data as we continue to move forward. So where is my report? All right, there goes the report. Let's see. So energy cost is going down from what I could see. And let me see, all major categories, 2.5%. So where is our report? So next release is going to be October 10th. Let's take a look at the current report. So let's get to it. All right. So consumer price index summary. By the way, your car, Mitch, Alexis, was that a good breakdown of the consumer price index? Was that a good breakdown? Like, was that a good example of how I broke it down with the eggs? And your car wants to know if he is buying eggs or silver. That is a good question. I think you're buying silver eggs. Yup. Shake and bake those eggs. All right. So, all right. So let's continue. All right. So, consumer price index summary. So consumer price index for August 2024. This was released on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. The consumer price index for all urban consumers, CPI-U, increased to 0.2% on a seasonally adjusted basis, the same increase as in July, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today. Over the last 12 months, the all items index increased 2.5% before seasonal adjustment. The index for shelter rose 0.5%. I'm guessing shelter is like mortgage, rents, and stuff like that. And was the main factor in all items increase. The food index increased 0.1% in August after rising 0.2% in July. The index for food away from home rose 0.3% over the month. So we keep seeing. I'm noticing a trend that for food away from home continues to go up month over month, while the index for food at home was unchanged. The energy index fell 0.8% over the month after being unchanged the preceding month. It is interesting that the energy costs are going down during the hottest times of the year. So that's interesting. Let's see. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.3% in August after rising 0.2% the preceding month. Indexes which increased in August include shelter, airlines, motor vehicles, insurance, education, and apparel. The index for used cars and trucks, household furnishings and operations, and medical care, communication, and recreation were among those that decreased over the month. The all item index rose 2.5% for the month for 12 months ending August, the smallest 12-month increase since February 2021. The all items less food and energy index rose 3.2% over the last 12 months. The index decreased 4% for the 12 months ending in August. The food index increased 2.1% over the last year. All right, so if we take a look at this chart real quick, it says that we are in August and all items 0.2%. So why did Bloomberg say, let me see. Bloomberg said, so core CPI. So what's the difference? Let's see, core. So let's take a look at the core. Can I zoom in on this? Let's go here. I guess that'll work. So, in other words, the core consumer price index, CPI, measures the change in price of goods, excluding food and energy. The central bank pays very close attention to figure out its role in price stability because the Feds believe that core inflation is a better gauge of underlying price pressures. It's more closely watched than overall inflation, which tends to be more volatile. So core CPI is 0.3%, but the regular CPI is 0.2%. I don't know. So it's I don't know. What's the I don't know. Why would they say core CPI and then oh, okay. So the consumer price index measures the change in price of goods contained in the basket of consumer items. So this would include everything, I suppose. So this would be probably including the food and energy. And this one is measuring it without food and energy. So outside of food and energy, it was like 0.3% is from what I'm understanding. Okay, cool. So so let's see. So food at home, food away. I thought they said it increased. Oh, it's food. So food at home stayed the same. Food at home decreased while food away from home, or food in general, decreased while food away from home increased. We know in August or in April, a lot of these companies were getting their there were laws that went into effect that increased the minimum wage for fast food workers in certain states. So food away from home is going to continue to get more expensive from my estimation. Let's see. Energy went down a lot. Energy commodities, yeah, energy went down a lot. Let me see. So it looks like things are getting a little bit cheaper, not by much. Things got cheaper in June, and then it stayed the same. So from July to August, it stayed the same. It went down from February to March, stayed the same. March to April went down a little bit. No, Ralph, what? What happened in your car? No, Ralph, what? Let me know. Only food and energy equals core. Let me go back. Hold on. The core consumer price index measures the change in price of goods and services, excluding food and energy. Am I reading it backwards? It says the core consumer price index measures changes in price of goods, excluding food and energy. So it seems, so from what I'm reading here, unless Bloomberg is also mistaken, is that core consumer price index does not include food and energy, but the CPI over here would be including food and energy. And from what I can see on here, it's also inside of, they're also taking it into account. But I don't know. Anyways, let's keep going. The food index increased 0.1% in August after rising 0.2% in each of the previous months. Food at home was unchanged. 2 of the 6 major grocery store food groups indexes increased over the month, while other 4 indexes declined in August. The index for meat, poultry, fish, and eggs rose at 0.8% in August. As the index for eggs, what? The index for eggs increased at 4.8%. Good Lord, that's a big percentage. So I take it back. So you know what? I guess your car's eggs didn't go down to $13.87. It actually went up to $19.43. Sorry, your car. I was being hopeful. I was being optimistic that your eggs were a much better price, but apparently not. Non-alcoholic beverages index fell. Okay, gotcha. All right, gotcha. Got it. Okay, that was the minute. All right, yeah. Gotcha. All right, perfect. The non-alcoholic beverages. So, wait, are you saying your car? Are you saying I know? Are you saying I know better than Mitch now? Are you saying I know better than Mitch? I'm just asking. All right. The index for so non-alcoholic beverages fell 0.7% in August after rising 0.5% in July. People got to get their soda and their energy drinks in, right? The index for other foods at home decreased 0.3% over the month. The index for fruits and vegetables declined 0.2%, and the index for cereals and bakery products fell 1.1%. The food away from home index rose 0.3% in August after rising 0.2% in July. The index for limited service meals rose 0.3%, and the index for full service meals increased 0.2%. I'm guessing limited service meals is like the fast food restaurants, and the full service meals are like the dine-in restaurants, like a TGI Friday, Red Lobster, Cheesecake Factory. People get upset about being taken to the Cheesecake Factory. But it is what it is. All right. Let's see. Let me see. The index for food at home rose 0.9% over the past 12 months. We read, all right, so meat, poultry, fish, and eggs index rose 3.2% over the last 12 months, and non-alcoholic beverages increased at 1.3%. So the prices are still going up. They might be going up at a much slower rate, but they are still going up. All right. Let's jump into energy. Energy index decreased 0.8% in August after being unchanged in July. Gasoline index fell 0.6% over the 12 months. The question is, is the gasoline index decreasing because we are emptying out our reserve supplies? How much oil do we still have in our reserves? Are we emptying it out to artificially keep the gas prices down during an election season? Will the gas prices skyrocket on November 6th? That is a great question. I'm curious to know. What do you guys think? Do you think that the gas prices might go up November 6th? All right, let's keep going. So let me see. Before the gasoline index fell 0.6% over the month. Before seasonal adjustment, gasoline prices decreased 2.7% in August. The electricity index decreased 0.7% over the month, and natural gas index fell 1.9% in August. The energy index decreased 4% over the past 12 months. The gasoline index fell 10.3% over this 12-month span, and the natural gas index declined 0.1%. Let me see. The index for fuel oil fell 12.1% over the same period. In contrast, the index for electricity increased 3.9% over the last 12 months. Let's see. Let's see. The index for all items less food and gas rose 0.3% in August. So this part right here is the core CPI that Bloomberg was telling us. So what we just went through was the regular CPI, but the core CPI, when you take out food and energy, everything else, so pretty much everything else outside of food, excluding eggs, but everything else outside of food and energy went up 0.3% in August after rising 0.2% in July. The shelter index increased 0.5% in August. The index for owners equivalent rent rose 0.5% over the month, and the index for rent increased 0.4%. Lodging away from home index rose 1.8% in August after rising 0.2% in July. You know, because August, it is like right before school starts, people got to get their last little bit of vacation in. Vacationing, putting it on Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, all of that good stuff.
Bruh.
Let's see. The airline fares rose 3.9% in August after declining in each of the previous 5 months. I wonder if investing in airline stocks and hotel stocks only during the summer seasons is a good play. You know, because once the summer is over and stuff like that, they might be going back down, but you know, people have to get flued out and stuff like that, and they gotta find a place to stay during those summer times when things are a decent price. So that's a good question. I really wonder. All right. So, what do you guys, Mitch, your car, Alexis, what do you guys think about that? During the summer season, investing in these type of, you know, airlines and stuff like that. And then once school starts back up, you get rid of them. You say you're out of there. All right. Let's see what else we got. All right. So the index for used cars and trucks fell 1% in August, following a 2.3% decrease in July. So used cars, you guys remember during the pandemic how expensive used cars were? That was absolutely crazy. But now it seems like they're going back down. Over the month, the household furnishings and operations index fell 0.3%. The medical care index fell 0.1% in August after falling 0.2% in July. The communication index decreased 0.1% in August, as did the recreation index and the personal care index. The index for new vehicles was unchanged over the month. To wrap it up, the index for all items less food and energy rose 3.2% over the past 12 months. So things are still going to get more expensive. The shelter index increased 5.2% over the last year, accounting for over 70% of the total 12-month increase. So housing is still getting more expensive. Other indexes with notable increases over the last year include motor vehicle insurance. That is a fact. Oh my God. Let's see. Yeah, because down here, at least down here in Florida, in South Florida, that motor vehicle insurance is a killer. I'm telling you, I won't even tell you what I've been doing lately, right? But it's a killer. Like that auto insurance, they are out to get you. Okay. And let's not even talk about homeowners insurance. That is another killer right there. But let me see where were we? So, all right. So other indexes with notable increases over the last year include motor vehicle insurance, medical care with a 3% increase, recreation with a 1.6%, and education with a 3.1% increase. Not seasonally adjusted CPI measures. The consumer price index for all urban consumers, CPI-U, increased 2.5% over the past 12 months to an index level of 314, 7.96%. When you do 1982 minus 84 equals 100. So the consumer price index for all urban CPI-U is still, like, if 100 is the baseline, that means that things are a lot more expensive than it was between 1982 and 1984. For the month, the index increased 0.1% prior to the seasonal adjustment. The consumer price index for urban wage earners and clerical workers increased 2.4% over the last 12 months to an index of 308.640. For the month, the index was unchanged prior to the seasonal adjustment, and then the chain consumer price index for all urban consumers, CPI-CP or C-CPI-U, increased 2.4% over the last 12 months. For the month, the index increased 0.1%, not on a not seasonally adjusted basis. Please note the indexes for the past 10 to 12 months are subject to, of course, they're always subject to revision. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, so the next one is going to be October 10th, 2024, and we'll review it that following Saturday. That's pretty much it. All right, cool. Whew, that was a lot. That was a lot. Let's check the chat real quick and see what we're talking about. Let's see. Let me see. Where are we going back to? So, your car had said its raise in price is slowing down. It's still not going down overall. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. It's like it's getting more expensive on a slower pace. So thank you for that. The prices aren't going down. It's just not going up as fast as it was. And Mitch says, of course, that example was absolutely trash. But he will give me a pass. He will give me a pass. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you so much. Let me see. And your car says, though, it was spot on. So you see your car is all. Thank you, your car. And so it must be those Willy Wonka golden eggs that rich girl was crying over. Mm-hmm. Yup. Still on the eggs. Why you gotta hate on the eggs? Why you gotta hate on the eggs? Let me see. It says, we could never empty the reserves. They lied about that. We have the most oil in the world, more than Saudi Arabia and Iran. Really? So if that's the case, are we actually buying it from other countries then? I don't know. Because if we have the most, then are we buying it from other countries? Or are we just like, I don't know. Let me know. I honestly think that people are just covering up price gouging, not gauging, but gouging by blaming it on inflation when they are not even borrowing right now for that to be the case. That's a perspective. That is a perspective. Says, you mean American Airlines is flying millions of illegals around the country? Hey, look. All right, I'm going to be fair here. I'm going to be fair to American Airlines and to all those other airlines. If you are paying me to fly somebody from point A to point B, I don't care. Like, if you're paying for the seats in the plane, then I'm going to fly them wherever they want to go, to whoever wants to go wherever they want to go. Now, once you get to the airport, it's up to the people at the ports of entry who are going. But now, if you need me to fly them back, you better pay for that ticket too. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. You know, at the end of the day, American Airlines is just a business. Delta is just a business. Like, if you want a seat, pay for your seat. All right. If you don't make it, no refund for you. No refund for you. Alexa says supply and demand, and your car says it's a bad move. It's not worth it. You would make more in the same amount of the time in your tech portfolio. That is true. Let me see. Alexa says not around the country. They have toured. It's so silly. It says they are going on a world tour, starting on the U.S. border and coming into a small town near you. You guys are so silly. You guys are so silly. All right. Wait, one more. Says, did that because the president and his son did that because they have an energy company in the Ukraine that does business with the Saudis. He literally almost buried the US dollar when he did that, then somehow blew up a pipeline. Smoke them if you got them, right? Smoke them if you got them. All right, we are going to get into our next topic of today. Let's see what's next. We have the producer price index, So let's go over here. and see what the producer price index has in store for us. So this was released on Thursday, September 12th. Get some water real quick. All right. You know what? Stop the show. We got my guy Darcel in the building. Says, good morning, fam. Good morning to you as well, Darcel. How are you doing on this beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning? You know, you guys clap it up for Darcel. Clap it up for Darcel. We love to see our friends in the building.
I appreciate you.
All right, so let's continue. You know, we have to stop the show for Darcel and say, what's up? What's happening? How are you doing? You know, we are very, very respectful here. All right. So, but let's get back to work. So the producer price index. Let's go to our Urban Dictionary first. And the producer price index is it is similar to the consumer price index, which we just reviewed, but instead of tracking the prices of things people buy, it tracks the prices that businesses pay to make those things. So here's how it works. Production price or production cost. Imagine a factory is making sneakers. Let's say they're making Jordans, right? They need materials like rubber, fabric, and labor. The PPI tracks the prices of these materials and services. Price check. Just like the CPI, the government checks the prices of these materials and services regularly. Then they compare the prices. They compare today's price with the price from the past to see if the prices are to see if the cost for businesses are going up or down. So you know how we always say the price of the brick is going up. They are checking to see if the price of the brick is going up. In this case, if the price of rubber, fabric, labor is going up or not. If the PPI goes up, it means the cost of businesses to produce goods and services are rising. If it goes down, it means those costs are decreasing. So why should we care about this, right? When production costs goes up, businesses might raise their prices to cover these costs, which can eventually lead to higher prices for consumers. So the PPI can be an early indicator of inflation, showing how the prices of raw materials and production might affect the prices we pay in stores later on. So it kind of has like a cascading effect. If the PPI goes up, so for instance, if the I guess we'll keep with the eggs, right? So let's say Mitch owns the farm that the eggs produce, or that the chickens produce the eggs that your car loves to buy, right? But it costs more for Mitch to employ the people who gathers the eggs and do whatever processing, the people who chase the chickens around and things of that nature, right? Let's say it cost him more for the material to maintain his chicken coop, right? So it costs more to do all of that. Let's say to actually obtain these chickens, it costs more, right? Let's say it costs more for the chicken feed, you know? So let's say all these prices are going up, and now your car is sitting at home wondering, why the hell is he paying $19.47 for his chickens, or for his eggs, right? But it's because all of Mitch's prices are increasing. You know, let's say whatever he needs, like he has to whatever materials he needs to process the eggs, whatever he needs to, like the people who are processing it, he has to pay them more because he is hiring people who are licensed to work, you know? So it costs him more. And that's why the golden eggs are they cost like they're actual gold, you know? So if Mitch's costs go up, then your car's prices to buy the eggs are going to go up. If his prices go down, then it's also going to it should reflect a few months down the road for your car's prices on buying the eggs to go down as well. So that is my breakdown. I could be totally wrong. I could be off on a little bit, but I'm sure your car and Mitch will correct me. Mitch, how was that example? Was that example a little bit better? You know, let me know. Was that also trash as well? Let me know. But please don't hurt my feelings when you let me know, all right? Okay, so let's get into it. Let's see what the actual PPI was. All right, so the forecast was 0.1%, but it was actually 0.2%. So it looks like the cost went up just a little bit. So let's break it down. Let's go to the URL. So the producer price index released Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Let's get to it. All right, so the producer price index for final demand increased 0.2% in August, seasonally adjusted. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today final index prices were unchanged in July and rose 0.2% in June. See table A, all right. So on an unadjusted basis, the index for final demand advanced 1.7% for the 12 months ended in August. So small increase. The August rise in the index for final demand can be traced to a 0.4% increase in prices for final demand services. The index for final demand goods was unchanged. So the services went up a little bit, which caused it, but the final demand goods was unchanged. Prices for final demand, less food, energy, and trade services advanced 0.3% in August, the same as in July. For the 12 months ended in August, the index for final demand, less food, energy, and trade services moved up 3.3%. All right, so do we have a breakdown of what final demand is? Let me see. I guess I don't have it here. We'll get it for next. That's definitely going to be part of our dictionary when we break down the PPI to understand the final demand. I believe final demand is like pretty much what you're buying at the store, like the final product, what it costs to make the final product, including the packaging and all that stuff, right? So let's continue. All items less food and energy. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.3% in August after rising 0.2% in July. So things are getting more expensive to produce. The shelter index increased 0.5% in August. The index for am I on the right one? Hold on. Oh, oops, I went to the wrong one. All right, so all right, there we are. Let me see. Final prices for final demand, less food. All right, we are at that. Final demand. So final demand services. Prices for final demand services rose 0.4% in August after declining 0.3%. After declining 0.3% in July. So for services, things got more expensive. Nearly 60% of the increase was attributable to a 0.3% advance in the index for final demand services, less trade, transportation, and warehousing. Margins for final demand trade services moved up 0.6%. Trade indexes measured change in margins received by wholesalers and retailers. In contrast, the index for final demand transportation and warehousing services decreased 0.1%. So it looks like for warehousing and transportation services, those went down. That might be like for transporting, it might be for storage, it might be for like the labor involved with it. Product detail. A 4.8% rise in the index for guest room rental was a major factor in August advance in prices for final demand services. For guest room rental, the indexes for machinery and vehicle wholesaling, automotive fuels and lubricant retailing, residential real estate, loans, partial, professional and commercial equipment wholesaling, and furniture retailing also moved higher. Conversely, prices for airline passenger services fell 0.8%. The indexes for food and alcohol retailing and for membership dues, admission and recreational facility use partial also decreased. Final demand goods. Prices for final demand goods were unchanged in August after rising 0.6% in July. So that means they pretty much stayed at that level that it was in July. In August, index for final demand goods, less food and energy for final demand foods advanced 0.2% and 0.1% respectively. In contrast, prices for final demand energy fell 0.9%. So energy costs seem to be going down. Product detail. In August, the index for non-electronic cigarettes increased 2.3%. So that means for regular cigarettes, the prices went up, so people are smoking more. Is that it? Or they're just more expensive. Interesting. Prices, or to produce them at least, prices for chicken, eggs, Gasoline, diesel fuel, and drugs and pharmaceuticals also moved up. Conversely, the index for jet fuel decreased 10.5%. That's a big decrease. Prices for meat, electric power, and hayseed, and oilseeds, and non-ferrous scrap also declined. All right. So if we're looking at this right here, we are over here. Final demand, less food and energy, is 0.3. Final demand altogether is 0.2. Final demand goods was unchanged, but food went up at 0.1. Energy went down at 0.1. When you take out the food and energy, it is at 0.2%. Final demand services was up at 0.4%. Trade is at 0.6. Transportation and warehousing went down to 0.1. Everything else is 0.3% month over month. It is unadjusted is 1.7. When you do, this is including everything. When you exclude food and energy, it is 3.3%. So it's like without food and energy and trade, it is the producer price index is at 3.3%, which is costing producers more, right? Let's see anything else. So intermediate demand by commodity. So intermediate demand is like the materials it takes up to make the final product, right? So everything in between to produce something. So, and I'm also going to add that to the Urban Dictionary of Economic Data as we build that out within and we're going to make it like a much easier breakdown. But within intermediate demand in August, prices for processed goods fell 0.1%. The index for unprocessed goods decreased 3.7%, and prices for services declined 0.1%. Processed goods for intermediate demand, the index for processed goods for intermediate demand moved up 0.1% in August after rising 0.6% in July, leading to the decreased prices for processed energy goods declined 0.6%. The index for processed foods and feeds fell 0.3%. In contrast, prices for processed material, less food and energy, inched up 0.1%. For the 12 months ended in August, the index for processed goods for intermediate demand fell 1.1%, the largest decline since a 1.8% decrease for the 12 months ended in March. Product detail. A major factor in August's decline in prices for processed goods for intermediate demand was the index for jet fuel. So that means it costs a lot less to transport stuff across, for like in planes and things of that nature. It dropped 10.5%. Prices for meat, natural gas to electric utilities, cold rolled steel sheet and strip, and lubricating oils based stocks also fell. Conversely, the index for fabricated steel plate jumped 16.8%. A lot of people seem to be buying those bulletproof vests, I guess, right? Prices for diesel fuels, basic organic chemicals, and paper board also increased. Unprocessed goods for intermediate demand. The index for unprocessed goods for intermediate demand moved up 3.7% in August, the largest decline since falling 4.1%. And so it moved down 3.7 in August, the largest decline since falling 4.1% in December of 2020. More than 3/4 of the broad-based decrease in August is attributable to 7.5% decrease in price 7.5% drop in prices for unprocessed energy material. The index for unprocessed foodstuff and feedstuff for unprocessed non-food material, less energy, also moved down 1.7% and 1.1% respectively. Always respectively. For the 12 months ended in August, prices for unprocessed goods for intermediate demand fell 4.3%, the largest decline decreasing 5% for the 12 months ended in April. Product detail. Over 40% of August decline in the index for unprocessed goods for the intermediate demand can be traced to 29.8% drop prices for natural gases. Is that going to change if fracking gets banned in Pennsylvania? Because some people, who knows? Is fracking going to be banned or not? Who knows? Only time will tell. The next is for crude petroleum, hayseed, and oilseeds, non-ferrous scrap, and slaughter hogs. and slaughter steer and heifers. That doesn't sound like a very nice word. Heifers also fell. And why are they slaughtering heifers? That is not nice. Oh my goodness. In contrast, prices for slaughtered chicken rose 5.5%. So the price of chicken is going to be going up. The indexes for carbon steel scrap and for coal also advanced. All right. So we have this going over here, this chart. So this is the intermediate demand chart. I'm not going to go into that in detail. Services for intermediate demand. The indexes for services for intermediate demand edged down 0.1% in August, the first decrease since falling to 0.1% in August of 2023. Overall, over 60% of the August 2024 decline can be traced to margins for trade services for intermediate demand, which dropped 0.3%. Prices for services less trade, transportation, and warehousing for intermediate demand inched down 0.1%, while the index for transportation and warehousing services for intermediate demand was unchanged. For the 12 months ended in August, prices for services for intermediate demand advanced 3.4%. I think so. Product detail. Within services and for intermediate demand in August, margins for machinery and equipment parts for the supplies wholesaling declined 0.8%. The indexes for gross rents for office buildings, freight forwarding, cable network advertising time sales, and staff services also moved lower. Happy to see that part right here. Cable news advertising time sales prices going lower because they be promoting straight, in the words of my good friend Mitch, trash. See, Mitch, even if you're not my friend, I will forever and ever be your friend. Conversely, price for the U.S. Postal Services increased 6.1%. The worst mailing service in the world. Prices going up, right? The indexes for automotive, fuels, and lubricants retailing, gross rents for retail properties, and guest rooms rentals also advanced. All right. I think we're good. I'm not gonna get into like this level of detail. Maybe as we get better understanding, we'll go here. But stage 4, we're not gonna get into that, right? So let's go back to full screen and let me check the chat before we get into the other section of the day. Let me highlight this one real quick. We got my guy Me Masify in the building. Good morning to you as well. Says good morning, Tech, your car, Mitch, and the chat. Finally back to walking as of this morning.
We the best. Let's get it.
That's what I'm talking about. Aiming for 10 miles today. That's serious. That is serious. All right. Let's go to. All right, let's check the chat. Let's see what we got in the chat. It sounds like. Where is this? Where was I? It sounds like, I could be wrong on this, but it sounds like Mitch appreciated the example that I gave. It's, you know what I'm noticing? When the example includes Mitch, he doesn't think the example is trash. But if it doesn't include him, then it is straight trash. I try to be fair. So your car says chickens only cost $3 to $4 to raise from hatchery to slaughter if you're buying food by the ton. They drink lots of water is what people don't know. That can cause an increase in price if you don't have a well. Interesting insight. So it's the water that can make the chickens cost, the eggs cost more expensive and chicken cost more expensive if you do not have a well. Interesting. Very, very good to know. And Yakar says that the final demand explanation was spot on. Thank you, Yakar. What else we got? And Mitch says smoking trash. That's a fact. And it says, it says they need that good old herbal remedy. Shout out to the tech pookies. Oh my goodness, they're about to fight. All right. It says, what are you talking about, chump? You smoke cigars. Don't try to fool me. felt that chump. I felt that chump. It says, I didn't see fracking will be banned. Pull up the clips. Oh, I don't know. Should I pull up the clips? Your car, should I pull up the clips? Should I pull up the clips? It says, now your car is defending himself. I do, but it's not a every week thing. Every now and then when I'm out with the sharks. Okay, so I hear you. I hear you, car. And it says, I don't like you at all, but if somebody else comes at you, they will get those hands. Fair enough. Fair enough. And we got, who is this? We have Check It Out in the building. Welcome, Check It Out. I have never spoken to you before, but I am happy to have you here.
I appreciate you.
A Kroger executive admitted to gouging prices on select items above inflation levels during an antitrust trial. Interesting. Well, I guess as the name says, we'll have to check it out. We'll have to check it out. Let me write that down in my notes to see what this Kroger executive actually admitted to. Let's say Kroger executive admits to price gouging, not gauging, but gouging. And it says, your car, you're a bad friend and co-host. Stop the. Oof, that's harsh. Let me see. I believe Me Masify walks around the city or wherever he lives. It's not a track. He's just walking out and about, meeting people around the parks and stuff like that. He records like some of the videos he puts out. It's while he's walking, meeting people, and he has like one of those like a rucksack on. So yep, he gets after it. And Check It Out says, during a FTC antitrust trial this week, a senior Kroger executive made an admission the grocery giant had raised prices on essential items like milk and eggs beyond what inflation alone would justify. But here's a question, right? If they did that, because one thing I do, right, if I go to the store, I use an app where it tells you what the different prices are. So if you see that Kroger is increasing their prices beyond what inflation alone would justify, right? But Walmart or wherever else they're not, would you just like buy what's at like a safe price, I guess I would say, or a reasonable price at Kroger's, and then you go to Walmart to get your whatever's at, like, I don't know. So that's the part, like, when it comes to like the whole price gouging and stuff like that, I don't think it's necessarily price gouging, because you can, like, for me, I think you can charge whatever the hell you feel like charging, right? That's how I see it. You can charge whatever the hell you want to charge. But the competition of like, all right, now if this other store is charging less, then I'm just gonna go to the other store, I don't know. That's if Kroger is the only place that you can buy for, let's say that they're the only one in the community, right? I don't know. So that's how I see it. That it doesn't, like, for them saying that we raise prices higher than whatever, it doesn't really make any difference to me, from my perspective. Let me see. Let's see. Maybe I'm out of comment. If something recorded, let me see. Oh, okay. Says, she said she never said fracking will be bad. No. So you're correct, Mitch. You're correct. I'm gonna be fair. Right? They never said that. It was never said that fracking will be banned. What was said was, I'm totally in favor of banning fracking. See, there's a difference, right? I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying I am totally 1,000% in favor of doing it. That's what was said. That was what was said, right? And then they pulled the clip. See, words matter, Mitch. Words matter. It's not that I'm going to ban it. It's I'm 100,000% in favor of doing it. I bring them out. Let's see. It says, I'm all over Detroit and Dearborn Heights. Awesome. It says that's a good point. If I wasn't the co-host, there would be no positivity in the chat. That's a fact. That is a fact. Let's see. It says, Ralph, it's the same thing with the mortgage rents on the software. See, it might be the same thing, but we also don't agree on that. All right. So that doesn't say much to me. That doesn't say much to me. Me, my advice says, I used to whack the track. That sounds terrible, but I understand what you're saying. That sounds terrible, but it got ghetto, so I went to the suburb. I get what you're saying, though. 8 Mile, gotcha. And Darcel says that you were. I had no idea. So Darcel was raised in Detroit, now in Georgia. I miss the snow. What? You missed this? No, thank you. No snow for this South Florida guy over here, right? Says you get caught up in one company, but if every store is doing it, then rising tides that lifts all prices. If all the stores are doing it, then that's the price. I don't know. I'm not gonna go back and forth with that. Says what's gaslighting? Am I gaslighting? What's going on? Am I gaslighting or is somebody else gaslighting? Let me know who's gaslighting, Mitch. Let me know who's gaslighting. But I don't know. I just see it differently. That's all. I just see it differently. That's all. You see? No, you know. All right, let's get to our next one. Oh, hey, man. Yeah, I'm just reporting. It says there's a difference between doing it and being and being totally favoring doing it. All right, that's all. Let's see. Let's go to next one. All right, so next up we have let's do a quick look at the U.S. Department of Labor, and then we'll get, because that one we don't have to spend that much time on. We'll do a quick skim through that, and then we'll get into, so this one, let me see if I have the jobless. So weekly jobless claim. Let's take a quick read of that. So the Department of Labor's weekly initial jobless claims report is like a count of how many people asked for help because they lost their jobs and couldn't find work that week. Think of it like a school where every week some kids might get sick and need to stay home. The school keeps track of how many kids are out sick each week to see if the number is going up or down. In the same way, the government counts how many people are asking for help because they lost their job. This report helps us understand how the economy is doing. If more people are asking for help, it might mean there are fewer jobs available. And if fewer people are asking for help, it means that there might be more jobs. All right, so let's get into this report. Let's go here and it's gonna be the wrong one. Let me see what it's gonna give me. Let's look for it this way. Department of Labor jobless claims. All right. Let's zoom in a bit. All right. So in the week ending of September 7th, the advance figures for seasonally adjusted initial claims was 230,000, an increase of 2,000 from the previous week. The previous week's levels was revised up by 1,000, as always. Always revised up, never revised down. When I say never, I'm being facetious. It might be revised down like once a year. Who knows, right? The 4-week moving average was 230,750, an increase of 500 from the previous week's revised average. The previous week's average was revised up by 250 from 230,000 to 230,250, right? So pretty much there are 230,000 people who are asking for help from the government because they just got laid off for the first time. Laid off, fired, on paper, laid off and fired is the same thing, but in reality, it's the same result, right? So the advanced seasonally adjusted insured unemployment rate was 1.2% for the week ending of August 31st, unchanged from the previous week's unrevised rate. The advanced number for seasonally adjusted insured unemployment during the week ending of August 31st was 1,850,000, an increase of 5,000 from the previous previous week's revised levels. The previous week's levels were revised up by 7,000. What? To a 7,000 more. The 4-week moving average was 1,852,500, a decrease of 2,250 from the previous week's revised average. There goes the chart over here. So pretty much at 230,000 people filed for unemployment for the first time this past week. All right. I'm going to jump down to over here. The total number of continued weeks claimed for benefits in all programs for the week ending of August 24th was 1,824,657, a decrease of 43,000 from the previous week. There were 1,772,148 weekly claims filed for benefits of all programs compared to 2023. So that means there were less people filing last year than there are this year for continued weeks claims for benefits. Let me see. All right, let's go down. The highest insured unemployment rates in the week ending of August 24th were in New Jersey, as always. Oh, shout out to New Jersey. At 2.8, Rhode Island at 2.6, California at 2.1, Puerto Rico at 2, Connecticut 1.9, Minnesota 1.9, Massachusetts 1.8, New York 1.8, Nevada 1.8, Pennsylvania 1.7, and Washington at 1.7. The largest increases in initial claims for the week ending of August 31st were Massachusetts at 2,230, Wisconsin at 820, Ohio at 806, Pennsylvania at 724, Washington at 399. While the cities with the largest decrease were Texas at 1,396, New York at 1,185, North Dakota 919, California 833, and Indiana at 796. Shout out to Florida for not making the list this week. All right, so we are going to check the chat, and then we're going to do the other index for the consumer sentiment index. Let me go to full screen. All right, let's see what we got. Did I miss one in here? All right, so no, I didn't. Let's go to says Mitch, lengthen your vocabulary when you speak to me, chum. So you got to add more ease. You have to add more ease in the beep. All right, Mitch. So me myself says, I don't hate the snow. I wish it went away. I don't like being cold. Like I like to control when it's cold. All right. It says be original. Weird. That's just plain weird. All right. I'm Spanish. We don't do Spanish. All right. Let's go to what do you do to relax? Mitch. I don't think Mitch knows the definition of the word relax. Let's see, is what you mean. It says to chill, to relax, unwind, to reset the mind. He joins my live streams. That's how he does it, right? I am very relaxing, right? So I help Mitch reset his mind, right? And see the right perspective, as well, So I'm just saying, all right. Let's see. Let's go over to consumer sentiment. Let me redo the filter. Let's go over here. And then we'll do that real quick, and then we'll watch one of these videos before we wrap it up. So let me go to get that out, get all these other ones out. Apply. And then there goes our Michigan. 69. Oh, things went up actually. Let's see. So, do I have the Michigan? I hate searching like this. All right, University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment, right? So, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index is a survey that asks people how they actually feel about the economy. It gathers information about what people think about their current financial situation, how they feel about spending money, and what they expect for the future. The survey results are combined into an index, which is like a scorecard that shows whether people feel positive, negative, or neutral about the economy. This index is important because it helps us understand how confident people are about spending money. When people feel good about the economy and their own finances or their own financial situations, they are more likely to buy things like clothes, gadgets, and cars, which helps businesses grow and create jobs. If the index shows that people are worried about it, they might spend less, which can slow down the economy. Economists and government officials use this information to make decisions about things like interest rates and economic policies, helping them support a healthy economy, right? So let's jump into this one real quick. Is it this one? Nope, not that one. Let's go to here. What? Oh, no, that's not it. Hold on. Let me go to University of Michigan Consumer. And let's go to here. What? Come on, University of Michigan. Be better. Be better. Let me see. All right. September 13th. That would have been, that should have been that one. Consumer sentiment 66. That's July. Did they not release it? Survey information. Come on, University of Michigan. Well, maybe they didn't release it. Let me see. I don't see it. Hold on. Well, oh, that is your prerogative. University of Michigan not working. Try it one more time. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, cool. So preliminary results for September 2024. We have a survey of, so it was, index is 79, August was 67.9, September is 67.8. Consumer sentiment rose to its highest reading since May of 2024. People are feeling better about the economy, or about how things are looking. It says, let me see. Increasing for the second consecutive month and lifting about 2% above August. The gain was led by an improvement in buying conditions for durables, driven more by favorable prices as perceived by customers or consumers. Again, year ahead, expectations for personal finances and economy both improved as well, despite a modest weakening in views of the labor market. So, question. If there are favorable views for personal finances and economy to improve for the year ahead, why is that? Why do people have a favorable view, right? Sentiment is about 40% above its June 2022 low, though consumers remain guarded as the looming election continues to generate substantial uncertainty. Let me zoom in on this. Let me see. A growing share of both Republicans and Democrats now anticipate a Harris win. Interesting. Consistent with their divergent views of implications of a Harris presidency for the economy, partisan gaps in sentiment inched up. Note that interviews for this release concluded prior to Tuesday's debate. A more comprehensive look at election expectations will be released next week. Interesting. So, a growing share of Republicans and Democrats now anticipate a Harris win. Consistent with their divergent views of the implication of a Harris presidency for the economy, partisan gaps in sentiment inched up. Note the interviews for this release concluded prior to Tuesday's debate. A more comprehensive look at election expectations will be released. Year-ahead inflation expectations fell for the fourth straight month, coming in at 2.7%. The current reading for the lowest since December 2020 and is well within the 2.3 to 3% range seen in the 2 years prior to the pandemic. Long-run inflation expectations were little changed, edging up 3% last month to 3.1% this month. Long-run inflation expectations remain modestly elevated relative to the range of readings seen in the 2 years pre-pandemic. Interesting. So the University of Michigan, they say that a growing number of Republicans and Democrats anticipate Harris to win. Interesting. Well, we'll see. We shall see. All right. That concludes that. All right. Cool. We have a little bit time left. Let's see what else we got going on. So let me see. What else did I want to talk about today? Let's check the chat and then we'll see a video that's not too long. Maybe we could do. Let's take a look at we'll take a look at the unrealized. Actually, no, let's take a look at, I've had this one for a while. Why the US won't pay down its debt according to CNBC, right? But let's check the chat real quick and then we'll go on. Let's see. So Mitch says, to be honest, Ralph is right. I never thought I would see Mitch ever say that I was right about anything, right? But I actually go to baseball games, boxing matches, and some TV. Awesome. We know that Mitch loves Chicago PD, which that is one of my all-time favorite shows as well. You're a baseball fan, Mitch. Interesting, Mitch. You are a baseball fan. Ha. Did not know that. What? Is there a baseball team in New Jersey? Let me see. Baseball team, New Jersey? Do you go to like the New York games, like the Mets or the Yankees? Are you a Yankees fan or are you a Mets fan? What's your baseball team, Mitch? Who is your baseball team? But remember, Mitch did say I was right, and Mitch said he said we don't do Spanish here because I don't want to read what I don't know what I'm reading. You know what I mean? And the card says lies, and more lies. Says no, it's the Phillies minor league, the Trenton Thunder. Oh, okay, cool, awesome. All right, let me see. I'm gonna pull up this video real quick. Let's go to. Let's go see what this is over here, and I'm going to change this guy to. Let's take a look. So I had this video saved for a while, but it's a video about why the U.S. won't pay down its debt. Curious to see hopefully it works. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about it as well. All right, why the U.S. needs debt. Let's watch this together and see what they're talking about. Do they make any sense in the little bit of time that we have left?
Nearly $33 trillion. That's what the U.S. national debt was as of early September 2023. At the end of July 2023, when the debt was about $300 billion less, roughly $7 trillion of that was intragovernmental debt holdings, meaning the government owes itself that money. The majority of the debt, about $25.7 trillion, was held by the public.
The thing that we refer to as the national debt is really nothing more than an accounting record. It's keeping track of how many dollars the government has added to the broader economy minus how many dollars it has subtracted away from us, mostly through taxation.
Is there a reason you should want debt to be zero, precisely zero? No, there's no reason for that. Debt has many useful purposes. It's very useful for emergencies.
The national debt increased by nearly 90% since the beginning of the pandemic. But many economists and politicians warn that the ever-expanding national debt can be harmful to the economy.
And unfortunately, we're using it.
So, first question. I guess my first question, like how is debt used in an emergency? Like what would make having the debt a useful thing or a good thing? Being in debt versus having the opportunity to borrow money, I see there's a difference, like having the opportunity if there's an emergency, but staying in perpetual debt, I don't know, that doesn't sound like it makes sense to me. But you guys let me know. Mitch, your car, Alexis, check it out. Darcel, you guys let me know. What do you guys think, like, with the being in debt could be a good thing? Let's see.
For rainy days and sunny days right now.
We have to think about the interest rate on what we pay for our borrowing. We have to think about the growth rate in our economy. If the growth rate is faster than the interest rate, then that makes that debt more sustainable.
The U.S. economy certainly has the resources to pay down the debt over time, or at least to stop the increase in debt, but we need political action for that to happen.
So why can't the U.S. get a handle on its national debt? And does it even have to? The majority of the U.S. debt is held by the public in the form of government securities, such as treasury bonds, notes, and bills.
When the government borrows money, it does that by issuing a bond, which is a piece of paper that either says, I owe you this much money in the future, or I'm going to pay you interest at these particular time horizons and then pay you back the full amount at some other time in the future.
Government is giving us the ability to trade in some of the dollars that it has supplied for a different kind of US dollar called a government security.
The US dollar represents the reserve currency for the world, so lots of people want to own our treasuries.
Treasury debt is considered an extraordinarily safe, secure asset, and somebody who's looking for a safe, secure asset would naturally be attracted to buy US government bonds.
So public debt has always been used for emergencies. It's easier to finance by borrowing than to burden the current generation with taxes. We saw debt rise dramatically in the late 2000s after the global financial crisis, and we saw debt rise again during COVID. The debt, in some ways, is a contingency plan that we use to smooth out otherwise what would be big shocks to our economy.
The problem is that we keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing day in and day out. So we're not borrowing for emergencies. We're not borrowing only for long-term investments. We're borrowing for immediate consumption. And
that's the part that I'm thinking about, like, is the immediate consumption part, right? Let me see. Let's check the chat real quick. Let me start that one. Come back to that. It says all big companies run on debt. Walmart, Target, etc. Okay. I guess I wouldn't put an individual person in the same category as I'd put a big company running on debt for whatever reason that they're doing it. But how does that translate to, number one, a country being in like that much debt versus and an individual person? Also, if that company needed to pay off their debt, would they be able to? If Walmart needed to pay off the debt that they're running on, would they be able to? Your car says, because the Fed Reserve makes money off all the money, it makes no sense to be in any kind of debt when interest is tied to it. It's not free money. This whole video is being disingenuous. Fair point. It says, why do some people that have cash to buy a house, but they don't take, to buy a house, but they don't take out a mortgage on it? Same thing. I think that's also a different example. Like if somebody has the cash to buy a house, but they need to pull that cash out from something that they're going to get taxed on. Let's say they have their money, let's say they have that money in what do you call it? Like stocks and stuff like that, right? So now to buy that house cash, you're going to be taking out capital gains. Like they have to pay like these capital gains taxes and stuff like that based on the amount that. So if they have the money, but they're paying, and the interest rate that they're paying on it because they know they're good for it is very low, it might not be a problem. Because like now, let's say some emergency happens and they need to pay off whatever it is cash, they can just take it from the money that they have existing. But my thing is, if the money doesn't exist, if you don't have the money and now you're going into this debt, isn't that going to hurt the person who doesn't have the money? If you have the money, that's totally different. But if you don't have the money, what happens at that point? Mitch says this video, but in general, most companies run on debt. I agree with that part. Let me see. Save that one. Mitch says debt financing, talking my language now. All right, so let's continue watching the video, and then I'm gonna go to the other ones, right? To the other comments. But so far, I like this. Like, I mean, not that I like what they're saying in this video. I like that we're reviewing the video.
Any borrower, whether that's a person or a business or a government, if you borrow for immediate consumption with no long-term benefit, you're actually deteriorating your financial or fiscal future over the long run.
What's really critical here is what they call debt to GDP ratio. That is your debt to the size of your economy. We're almost at 100% debt to GDP. Looking at an economy the size of the US, usually a stability number is around 70%. So why is looking at that ratio important? Because it really shows whether you can service that debt.
Servicing the debt means paying back the debt and the interest on the amount to the lender.
The reason interest rates matter is because the government has to pay interest on its past debt. And as interest rates rise, those net interest payments start increasing dramatically.
The Federal Reserve has been increasing interest rates since March 2022 with the goal of slowing down economic activity.
When you raise interest rates, you have to pay more to service the debt. You can't do the national programs we need to do without incurring even more debt.
The federal government paid $475 billion in interest on the national debt in 2022. That's nearly 2% of GDP.
The Fed is pushing up interest rates, and this is feeding hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in additional income to bondholders. So people who are holding government bonds, paying higher rates of interest, are getting a huge windfall.
Debt helps your economy because you can take on large initiatives like infrastructure. You can take on crises like the pandemic. But you have to watch where your debt to GDP ratio is, because that really is the stability indicator of whether you can actually service this debt or whether you're tilting the balance.
There are good uses of debt, there are bad uses of debt. The public debt is one thing we're going to pass to the next generation. So is the quality of the environment, so is the infrastructure and roads and broadband and etc. So we need to balance both, the costs and benefits that we send to future generations.
We're the wealthiest nation on earth, and we're basically taking resources that we don't have today and borrowing from the future.
I think the biggest point of confusion or piece of misinformation about this thing we call the national debt is that it is somehow a burden to the rest of us, right? You'll hear people talk about the national debt burdening future generations. It ends up scaring people because you're thinking that the federal government's budget works like a household budget, and that if the government is borrowing and taking on debt, that somehow it's going to find itself in a situation somewhere down the road where it can no longer afford to pay the bills. And that's just simply not true. The government's budget doesn't work anything like a household budget.
The U.S.
So do you agree with this? Do you guys agree with this lady? That does the government's budget run more like a company's debt budget, or does it run more like a household budget? Because the government, they don't produce anything. So if the way that the government quote unquote makes money is taking it from taxes and stuff like that, what is it that they're producing in order to be running on as a big company in debt? right? I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think about that. Your car says long-term debt, yes, but you gotta be big like the federal government. I think Apple is running on 100 billion in debt. Probably not in cash. They wouldn't be able to. Let me see. Says exactly what did I say? What did I say to make you think that you're dumb? Yukari says she is right psychologically, and that is the problem. We get nothing as citizens for the taxes we pay. We don't fight for that money to be used wisely.
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up.
That is a good point, Yukari. That is a great point, Yukari. We don't fight for the money to be used wisely. I agree.
US isn't the only country with debt. There are 15 other countries with higher debt to GDP ratios than the US, with Japan having the largest in the world. Economist Stephanie Kelton says Japan's economic situation illustrates why debt isn't as harmful as mainstream economists suggest it is.
The Japanese government has been running fiscal deficits basically for the last 3 decades. Has it been inflationary? No. Has it driven interest rates sky high and crowded out private investment? No. Has Japan faced any kind of a fiscal solvency crisis as a result? No. When you look at what mainstream economics tells us is supposed to happen, if governments don't balance their budgets, if they run persistent fiscal deficits, if the debt continues to rise, interest rates are supposed to go up, it's supposed to trigger inflationary problems, solvency risk, and all the rest of it just didn't happen.
One could say, with 2020 hindsight, that Japan hasn't had any debt default or debt crisis. And again, that's in part because the rates at which they borrow at have been very low. The Japanese economy has been growing very slowly and very sluggishly. We don't know what the counterfactual is. We don't know how much faster the Japanese economy would have grown had they not been saddled with so much public debt.
The US national debt tends to make headlines alongside words like default and debt ceiling.
A default is any time the government does not make a payment that it promised to make.
We're one of 2 countries, I think, on the planet that has this sort of a debt ceiling in place. The other is Denmark, and they set it so high that it never really becomes an issue for them. Here, the debt ceiling limit is a self-imposed constraint. It's something that Congress put in place. Congress is given 2 sets of instructions to the executive branch. Congress is saying, spend this money that we have authorized, these programs in this budget, but don't issue any more of this specific type of security in order to facilitate that payment. So it kind of leaves the executive branch in a position where it's got to find a way to continue to spend, because it's authorized under the law to spend, but not spend in the way that it normally would.
I wish we could get rid of the entire debt ceiling issue. It's totally unnecessary in the first place because the government can't spend money unless Congress authorizes it anyway.
The fight over the debt ceiling can have serious consequences for the US and the global economy. Fitch, one of the bond rating services, lowered the US credit rating in early August 2023 from the top category to a slightly lower one.
It was a combination of 3 things. One is the rising debt to GDP ratio in the current forecast. The second is the lack of an explicit plan to deal with that. And third is the kind of terrible governance that Congress demonstrated in the debt limit buildup that occurred a few months ago, with many congressional Republicans threatening default if their demands were not met.
As of December 2022, about $7.4 trillion of U.S. debt is held by foreign governments or investors, which makes up 30% of publicly held debt. If countries holding U.S. debt start to believe it's not a safe investment, it may lead to a run on the bank, so to speak.
Why would we care about the stock of debt held by foreigners? The reason is that when we think about how a debt crisis could emerge, it's much like a banking crisis. One day we wake up and we no longer believe an entity is solvent. And so we run, right? We run for the exits. That sort of behavioral response is very similar, just playing out at an international level when we have debt crises. That foreigners run for the exits where they're seeing there's no agreement in the US over fiscal policy, and the debt to GDP ratio keeps ratcheting up, and interest rates are slowly getting higher, making it harder for the US to pay off that existing debt. So those kinds of signals could, lead some to begin to sell US treasuries.
Ultimately, the US national debt isn't getting paid off anytime soon.
People are, at the abstract level, in favor of cutting the deficit. The problem is, at the implementation level, they oppose spending cuts that would affect them, and they favor tax increases that would affect them. The debt trajectory is worrisome. Not a crisis, but worrisome. But there's a significant minority that says that we face so many other issues that we can afford some more debt.
All right. So I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand, like to agree with them, because I don't see how owing $35 trillion in debt is a smart move. But if that's what the economists are saying, right? Then I understand why people are always running to the cash advance stores, and so I don't want to hear. I don't want, because the economists are telling you that this is okay. So I don't want to hear any complaining and crying about predatory lending. They told you, they just told you that, hey, don't be afraid of the debt, because guess what? We also have stock in the banks who are financing, and they probably own those people that were just talking. They probably own some payday advance stores as well. You know what? Maybe I will open a payday advance store. You know, I'm just saying, you know. Anyways, your car says this leads to us treating taxpayer money like a blank check for the government instead of balancing it like a household. Yup. You know what YouTube needs to add, your car? They need to add a way that you can edit your what you chat, so that you can just fix typos in there, and that you don't have to like send a follow up, because that's just annoying. Like YouTube needs to do better. YouTube, come on, YouTube, fix that. Let's fix that. It says we won't default because they just keep raising the debt ceiling. Terrible. Imagine that, right? Let's say I have a credit card and it's at like a $10,000 limit, right? And I get to $10,000, and I say, you know what? Can't we just raise my? I mean, which they probably will do it as well. They probably will do it. So that's, you know, that's how it is. It's like you just raise it. Just limits. Who needs limits? Who needs limits? The car says keep the debt ceiling, just raise it when it needs to be raised, lower it and when it needs to be lowered, balance the budget while bettering the life of taxpayers. That's called fiscal responsibility. Uh-oh. Your car, you know, two words that are not allowed in the government is responsibility and accountability, all right? It's almost like being in a relationship. I'm just saying, all right? It says, maybe it's our C level student education. That might be it. That might be it. Because I'll be like, wait, what? Like, and back to something that Mitch said earlier, right? If I could, like, let's say I have, let's say $100 million in the bank, right? Or not in the bank, but in stocks and stuff, investments and stuff like that, right? And my rate of return is like 8 to 10%. And for me to buy whatever, a property, a car, whatever, and it's like I'm getting an interest rate of 2%, right? Then it doesn't faze me to lease that, or not lease, but like to finance that, because the amount of money that I'm going to be paying like on the interest is a lot less than what I'm making from my investment. So if I was to like take out the money, I'm gonna have to pay taxes on this. So like the taxes that I might have to pay that I'm gonna have to pay on the money that I'm taking out might be more than the interest that I'll be paying if I finance it that way, right? So at the end of the day, it's down to the math. But if you don't have that money stored away, like whether it's in stocks or whatever, right? It's it doesn't make sense to use money that you don't have. To me, at least, that's how it doesn't make sense for me to pay with something that I don't have, is how I would see it. Your car says my grandmother used to stay at the cash advance store. She is the one who told me not to get into that doom loop. She didn't know it was a doom loop though. See, yep, totally makes sense. It makes sense. Add, edit, and gift. Now you're talking, your car. Now you are talking. Imagine if you can put gifts in the YouTube chat. Oh my goodness, that would be awesome. Actually, you can if your credit score is good enough and you have been paying on time. And it says underwater. And it says that's why my parents' mortgage was because they got was because they got caught in the ninja loan scam in 2008. It's rough. It is rough. All right. And lastly, I want to go back to this. Something Mitch said. It says, one of my homies in Georgia bought sheep, so they have a little farmland. I might check that out. That is awesome. And you guys responded, sounds dope. They can get a tax credit if they have so many animals on their land and save a lot of money. And to wrap up the money show, we love it.
Money.
All right, so we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We went a little bit over time, but we had a lot of fun. As we wrap up the show today, I have a question for you. The question is,
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
I had a very great time. And do me a favor, on your way out, if you haven't done so already, of course, like the video, share the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go to techcoachrough.dev. But do me a favor. Let's wish my good friend Alexis one more time a happy birthday. And you guys know yesterday's price is not today's price. Today's price is not tomorrow's price, because guess what? Things can go crazy in November. So remember,
One more thing. Price of the brick going up.
the price of the brick is always going up. We are out. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. I will see you. Oh, don't forget at 3 p.m. today, we're gonna be we have a meetup, free to join. You have to sign up for the Patreon. Sign up for a free membership in the Patreon, and you can join us and see what we're going to be working on. We got my guy Telltale Woke in the building. Says he'll be tuning in. That's awesome. I think you're gonna see some very helpful stuff, especially with the track that you're going on. So I will see whoever joins to that there. But with that being said, we're gonna get out of here. Happy birthday, Alexis. You enjoy your birthday weekend. But on that note, this is Tech Coach Ralph. We are out.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts. Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again. Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.